Welcome to Bodhi Unified Flow, where we simplify complexity and amplify performance. Have you ever looked at a really busy work site and just wondered, where does all the time actually go? It can feel like a total black box, right? Well, today, we're going to unlock that box using a really powerful technique called work sampling.
We are going to dive deep into how you can stop guessing and start using hard data to precisely measure and then improve how time is spent on any project. Really, this is all about turning that intuition into a science.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the entire journey of a work sampling study. We'll kick things off with what it is, then get into the nitty-gritty of preparation, move on to on-site execution, talk about how to make sure your data is solid, and finally, how to turn all those observations into game-changing insights. Think of it as your complete blueprint for success.
And by the end of our session, you're going to walk away with more than just theory. You'll have the practical skills to define, plan, and execute a work sampling study, and you'll know how to dodge all the common pitfalls. The real goal here is to get you ready to drive actual performance improvements in your own work.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. What exactly is work sampling? And how does it give us this powerful statistical lens to see our operations with, total clarity?
The easiest way to think about it is like this. Instead of standing there for hours watching one person or one process, you take hundreds, maybe even thousands, of quick snapshots at completely random times. Each snapshot is just an instantaneous observation. And when you put all those little pictures together, they form an incredibly accurate portrait of the entire operation. And that's why this is such a game changer. I mean, on a busy construction site or in a complex factory, it's almost impossible to see where time is really being lost in all the chaos. Work sampling just cuts right through that complexity. It lets managers replace guesswork with real data, shining a bright light on hidden waste and those sneaky inefficiencies.
All right, let's move into what is, honestly, the most critical phase, the prep work. Because a work sampling study is only as good as its design. This is where you lay the foundation, your blueprint for getting accurate data.
Success here really boils down to 3 key steps. First, you've got to define your activity categories. Now, they need to be what we call MICE. That's mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. It just means that every activity you see fits into one and only one category, and all the categories together cover everything that could possibly happen. No gray areas. Next, you set your precision goals. How sure do you need to be about your results? And finally, based on that, you calculate your sample size, the exact number of observations you're going to need to take.
And this is the question that gets everyone. How many observations is enough? 100? 1,000? 10,000? Well, the good news is you don't have to guess. The answer comes from good old-fashioned statistical rigor.
And here it is, the engine that drives that rigor. Now, I know this formula might look a little intense at first, but stick with me, we're going to break it down. This is what lets us figure out the precise number of observations we need to be confident that our results are statistically sound.
So let's decode this thing. N is our target, the number of observations we need to get. To find it, we need a few things. Z is our confidence level, how sure we want to be. P is our best guess, for now, of how often an activity happens. And E is our margin of error, basically how much wiggle room we're okay with. The main thing to remember is the trade-off. If you want to be more confident and have a smaller margin of error, well, you're going to need to do more observations. Simple as that.
So what's this look like in the real world? Well, just to give you a sense of scale, a big study on a home renovation project in Denmark needed 2,100 separate observations to get the precision they were looking for. So yeah, it's not a small task, but that's the kind of rigor that leads to results you can actually trust.
Okay, so our study is planned out to the last detail. Now it's time to get our boots on the ground. Let's talk about the rules of observation that make sure our data collection is just as rigorous as our planning. If you only remember one thing from this whole section, make it this: the rule of instantaneous recording. This is the golden rule. It's what ensures every single observation is an unbiased snapshot. You have to record what you see at the very first instant you see it. No lingering, no second guessing, no trying to figure out what they were about to do. Just an immediate, objective call.
So to make sure our data is rock solid, every analyst needs to follow this checklist. No exceptions. First, observation times have to be randomized. This stops you from accidentally introducing bias, like only observing in the morning. Second, like we just said, observations are instantaneous. Third, the study needs to be done openly to build trust. And this is critical. We are studying the process, not the people. That means no names, no personal IDs. ever. But even with a perfect plan and perfect execution, there are still risks to our data. We have to actively protect it from getting corrupted. And that can come from two places: just plain old human nature and the tools we use. This brings us to a classic problem in any kind of study like this, the observer's paradox. How do you watch something without changing it? The second people know they're being watched, they can start acting differently, and that can totally mess up your data. This actually has a formal name.
It's called psychological reactivity, and dealing with this is absolutely essential, because if you don't, you're not collecting data about reality, you're collecting data about how people act when they know someone's watching them. And those are two very different things.
So how do you handle it? The key is transparency and trust. You start by being upfront about the goal. We're here to improve the process, not to grade individuals. Then you have a familiarization period, so having an analyst around just becomes normal. You want to shift the perception from being an inspector to just being a familiar, non-threatening part of the scenery.
The tools we use for this have also come a long, long way. We've gone from the old-school clipboard and pencil to powerful apps on tablets and smartphones. These tools don't just speed things up, they can automate stuff like timestamping and randomization. And looking forward, things are moving toward automated systems with AI and computer vision, which could reduce human bias even more.
So, after all this careful work, the planning, the stats, the observation, we finally get to the payoff. What's the ultimate benefit of all this effort? This is where the magic happens. We take those thousands of separate, random snapshots and we turn them into actionable business intelligence. This is how you go from a manager thinking, I think we're losing time on materials handling, to being able to say with confidence, we are spending exactly 18% of our time on materials handling, and here's a 3-step plan to fix it. That's the power we're talking about. Okay, let's just boil it all down. The key to a great work sampling study is a 4-part framework for reliability. It all starts with a rock-solid foundation of statistical planning. Then, on-site, you have the non-negotiable rules of random, instantaneous observation. You also have to manage the human element with trust. And finally, you use the best available tech to keep things accurate. Get those 4 things right and your study will be solid. So as you can see, we've really covered the whole process, from A to Z. From defining the problem all the way to analyzing the results, you're now equipped with the knowledge you need to apply this powerful technique with confidence in your own environment. We really hope this explainer has given you the tools to turn that operational complexity into clear, actionable insights. The question isn't if you can improve anymore. With these tools in your hands, the real question is, what inefficiencies will you uncover first? For anyone who wants to dive even deeper, here are some of the key resources that helped inform our explainer today. Thank you so much for watching.